Korea, United Nations troops push on in the cautious advance against the communists. An advance whose purpose, General Ridgway states, is not to seize ground, but to wipe out the enemy. The Chinese Red Army, fighting desperately in small isolated stands, prefers to give ground on wider fronts rather than join battle. And it's up to the infantry to clear out the pockets of die-hard communists. With the enemy falling back to the Han River, United Nations commanders had expected that the Reds would make their stand there. But under a...
The year is 1950. The Korean War erupted when North Korean forces, backed by the Soviet Union, invaded South Korea. The conflict quickly escalated into one of the bloodiest wars of the 20th century, involving both the United States and China. For 3 years, brutal fighting ravaged the Korean peninsula, leaving millions that are displaced. In 1953, an armistice halted the fighting, but no peace treaty was ever signed. The Korean peninsula remains divided at the 38th parallel, and tensions between North and South Korea continue to shape the region to this day. This fratricidal war left Korea as a whole shrouded within many secrets. North and South both continued to proliferate in the immediate post-war years. Time moved, yet espionage attacks, kidnappings, and even border scrimmages occurred underneath the surface. As we live here in the modern day, renewed tensions for the divided Korea are beginning to spur once more as international and regional tensions rise with the periodic missile tests, military exercises, and diplomatic standoffs, highlighting the fragile peace that persists on the peninsula.
So, yes, the notes were in secret because I guess if they were found, then I would have been, painted as, I guess, that's a spying act.
So what is life like in North Korea?
I found it just full of fear. And I also found it, it's only about the great leader. Nothing else exists. He's on every wall. He's the only topic of every song, every television program, every newspaper article. I spent months and months with these young men, aged 19 and 20, and literally nothing else exists. And their life was really in order to serve their nation. But if they didn't, whatever the punishment was, it was so great that they really couldn't express themselves.
I mean, would you describe them as being brainwashed?
No, I don't know if brainwash is the right word. I think it's more, I also really love these kids. They were 19. I lived with them. None of us were ever allowed out. I just felt like they were abused. It was an abused, if you think of it as an abused household, where they're just not allowed out, they're not allowed to see anything, allowed to know anything, and the communication method is just cut off.
Few know the realities of North Korea, a nation sealed off from the world. Suki Kim, a South Korean-born journalist, sought to uncover his secrets, becoming the only journalist to ever fully immerse herself in the isolated country. The story of this journalist is one that must be heard. A childhood of war, historical, and personal traumas. Suki Kim, born in South Korea, grew up in a household dealing with the despair of separation as her family split up. As a result of the formation of the 38th parallel, her youth was forever defined by a sense of longing. Many Koreans, including Kim's grandmother, thought that the divide was temporary. There was a thought that Kim's uncle was just a few hours away in Pyongyang, while they stayed in Seoul and would return shortly. Kim's sophisticated knowledge of the varied levels of sadness that may define the Korean experience was influenced by her family's belief in reunification, which ended with her grandmother. At the ripe age of 13, Kim left the familiarity of her homeland of South Korea and embarked on a journey to the United States, a pivotal moment that would influence her perspective as both a writer and a journalist. In 2002, Suki Kim found herself in North Korea for 8 days as a part of an aid organization. Kim witnessed an unprecedented amount of devastation, returning a couple more times trying to make sense of this world from the inside. 9 years had passed. In 2011, Suki Kim went undercover as an English teacher in North Korea, teaching at an elite school in Pyongyang. For 6 months, she lived among North Korean students, the sons of the country's top officials, documenting their lives in secret. Her experiences became the foundation of her book, Without You, There Is No Us. The book reveals the strict control and indoctrination that defines daily life in North Korea. Every meal, conversation, and lesson was shaped by the regime's total control over its citizens.
They would tell me they had slept very late on days when I had seen them doing their morning exercises at 6 a.m. They would tell me they called their parents all the time, when in fact they were not allowed to at all. They told me they had partied with their friends during the summer break, when I knew that most of their friends at other universities had been assigned to work in construction fields that summer. In North Korea, it seemed as though lies were not necessarily a bad thing. A few students also told me about a classmate from their previous university who had broken into the school's computer system and upped his grades. They said the school had rewarded him for being such a good hacker. So it seemed that they didn't consider cheating or hacking something to be ashamed of. After all, their entire system was built on lies.
Through Kim's work, we see the stark contrast between the vibrant democracy of South Korea and the oppressive regime in the North. Her reporting gives us a rare glimpse into the hidden lives of North Koreans and highlights the ongoing division that continues to shape the Korean peninsula. Suki Kim's story is deeply connected to Korea's division. The Korean War separated her family, and subsequently, her grandmother continued to believe reunification was near until the end of her time. But the divide between North and South remains vast, and Kim's work illuminates the pain of separation felt by so many Koreans today. Kim's journey is more than just journalism. It's a personal mission to understand the truth about a country that remains hidden from the rest of the world. Suki Kim's journey from South Korea to the United States and eventually into North Korea is more than a story of journalism. It is the story of one woman's quest to understand the country that was kept away from her family. Her work serves as a reminder of the importance of investigative journalism in uncovering the truth behind the world's most secretive regimes.